Howdy, y'all, and welcome to the EEARSS podcast produced here at Titusville High School, Terrier TV. My name is Frank Robb. That is Bill Curtis.
Yes,
How's
sir.
it going, Bill? How are you?
I am good.
Fair to Midland?
Yeah, fair to Midland. It's,
Yeah.
it is February, and for whatever reason, the pollen is nuts in February.
It showed up early. We had that cold that hit, and then it all went away, and the pollen went nuts.
Yeah, and so
I heard some young lady in the parking lot say she was going to get her car washed, and I said, that's not you need to wait in there a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
You need to wait a couple more weeks because it's fixing to get a lot worse before it gets better.
Yeah. The pollen is thick on the car.
It is.
And what gets me is like when I do the windshield washer,
Uh-huh.
you do that, and then you get streaks of pollen down your car.
Does that mean my lungs are yellow right now? Is that what that means? My lungs are yellow and orange?
If you're hanging around underneath pine trees, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, probably.
I respect that. It's not just the pine trees either. I mean,
Yeah,
the oak trees are lighting it up too.
Yeah, when the oak does it too, that affects. My family is susceptible to oak pollen.
I can't remember a year. So these past couple of years have been so crazy. Last year we had like the wettest winter I can ever remember.
Oh yeah.
This year we had a cold snap that actually stayed for a while.
Yeah, that hung out.
Which is what the first one in
But-
like a dozen years or something like that.
And it was cold, but it wasn't super cold. We didn't get to freezing.
Right.
So
They
we
expected
still-
it to, but it did snow in Florida.
Yeah, it did snow up in Jacksonville and
Crazy
the
stuff.
Panhandle. Gee whiz, they just got
They got lit up.
a bunch.
And now it got unseasonably warm so fast that
Yes.
all the trees and all the critters, and we're seeing with the gators are all, I mean, we'll be out places catching them, and they're courting and having fist fights. Well, technically not really fist
Right.
fights.
Well,
'cause
they
but
don't
you know what I'm
have
saying.
fists, so
Yeah.
you can't really do that.
It's hard to have an alligator fist fight, but yeah, they're having
So,
disagreements. Let's say
They
that.
are.
Yeah.
They are.
But it's
They're
man, I don't-
vying for supremacy, I guess.
yeah, gal friends.
Yeah.
The right corner to I want to lay on that corner. You can't lay on that corner. That's my corner. kind
Oh,
of things.
okay.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about my parking space.
Do you really?
Oh,
do
yeah,
you have
don't-
a Do you have a parking
I
space?
have a parking space. Yeah.
Now, do you park? You park back here in the back. You don't park
yeah.
up front.
No, I park in the back, but I have a space that is mine, and
You get scrappy about it if somebody parks in it.
I'm usually here so early. Nobody is in my parking space. But if
Have
it
you
was,
claimed this parking space for the past 30 years?
No, actually, this one, a good friend of mine who retired last year, I took over his parking space.
So you've only had this spot for a year.
It's
but
only this year.
how
It's
long
only
did
this
he
year.
have it previously?
Oh, as long as I can remember, as long as we've been back here, he was in that spot. So, I mean, a good 20 years.
Wow. All right.
And I respected it. I would never, ever park in that space.
So you've now, does everybody understand that you have dibs on it?
I don't know. I don't talk to people about it. No, but like I said, nobody does it.
You could do it like the
Because I
kids
get
do out
there
front.
early.
You could spray paint your name on it or something.
You could do that. But the
Lord.
kids were complaining because they had part of the parking lot blocked off, and some of them they couldn't park in their parking space. They were like, "I painted it and everything, and now I can't park it."
Oh, my garage.
So, yeah, that's happening. Territorial. Everybody's territorial, not just alligators. All kinds of folks are territorial.
I mean, I like my seat, but if you set me over there, I wouldn't be upset about it.
Right, but
I'm trying to think
Okay.
of something I'm territorial over. I don't know.
do you have at home in your living room, you have a place you sit that you like?
I sit all different places. Sometimes I sit on the floor.
You're just a weird kid.
Sometimes I lay down beside the dogs
I
on
have
one of
a-
their pillows.
I have a chair, and if one of my son-in-laws sits in my chair,
You tell him to
I'm
get
like,
up and get out?
dude, get out of my chair. Get out of. And then
That's it. Go home.
my daughter has this little yappy dog, and that yappy dog loves to be in my seat. Go up and lay on my seat.
Really?
Oh yeah, and I'm like, get out, get out. I had the dog sit a couple weeks ago, and yeah, the dog wanted to take over my territory. So
I guess maybe I'm not that passionate about it.
probably, maybe not, maybe not.
I'm sure there's something.
There's got to be something.
If somebody took my flip-flops, I'd be
And-
upset.
and it'll come to you this week. Somewhere in there, you'll see it, and you'll go, "Oh yeah, I'm territorial about that."
When I'm made to wear shoes, I get kind of upset.
Yeah, that's not the same thing. That's you following rules. That's different.
Don't make me wear shoes, Bill.
Don't make you. Yes, I know.
Like,
don't make
don't
you
make
follow
me.
rules. Don't make you.
Well, I
yeah,
don't think I'm like I'm not like an anarchist or
rebel.
anything. Am I?
I think so. I think
Maybe.
you have a little bit of rebellion.
Maybe it's the beard.
Look at you, the facial hair, all that.
Hmm.
You're not complying.
Is that Is you think that's what it is? I'm growing facial hair not to comply?
I think so.
Wow, this is
Part
a
of
deep
it.
dive on psychology here. I'm
and
really
then,
thinking
and
about
then
it
you're
now.
affecting me because right now I've been letting my hair grow. I'm letting my hair grow, and it's like, well,
Oh.
it's Frank. It's all Frank's fault.
Oh, I respect that, Bill.
Uh-huh.
I will take the blame and I will enjoy that.
You should. 'Cause it's partly your fault.
Oh my garage. Okay, good times. Are you ready? Are you ready to jump into our
Let's do it.
the conversation with our
We've
guest
made
today?
him wait long enough.
Yes. Oh Lord. Okay, so today in the podcast we are joined by Aaron LeBlanc from Rockledge High School. How's it going, buddy?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Awesome, bud. Happy to have you here. Tell us a little bit about you and
And what are you territorial about?
yes, exactly.
I have a spot on my couch that no one is allowed to be near. I feel that totally.
Really?
Oh yeah. No, it is my. You can see like the imprint of my body in it. No, perfect shape. Nobody's to touch it. It is my spot. I'm very territorial.
So this is just me. I'm just a weirdo.
Maybe, but that's okay.
I respect that.
Yeah, I really think you just haven't noticed it. You need to look more, and you'll see it.
I know, like on my couch, I sit on all 3 cushions. I got a chair I sit in sometimes, and sometimes I lay on the floor and just lay down beside the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
They have a big fluffy blanket that's super soft, and I'm like, get off the blanket, dogs. I'm laying down on it.
Okay, but I think you just need to notice. You'll see it. You'll see
Okay,
it.
I'll try. All right, Aaron. So tell us a little bit about you and what you do, buddy.
Yeah. So my name is Aaron LeBlanc. I am a teacher. I teach science at Rockledge High School. I've been a teacher for, oh goodness. So I'm 35 minus 21. So about 16 years. Is that right?
Okay.
I've taught mostly in high school and middle school. I've taught the gambit from 6th grade middle school all the way to high school physics and college level environmental science.
Wow.
So I've taught a little bit about everything. It's been a wild journey, and I loved most of it.
Now, what did you have a passion from the beginning to be a teacher?
Yeah, so very early on in high school, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I was a part of Future Educators of America at Space Coast High School, and I knew going in I wanted to be a teacher. I actually thought I was going to be an English teacher. I had a very big passion for literature thanks to my English teacher. And one semester at Florida State in the English program, and I was like, yeah, this ain't for me. And luckily, there was a sign promoting a program where you could get a dual degree in both science and education. And I decided to look into that and went on that track, and the rest is history. And it was a great program and a great decision.
So, how did you end up at Rockledge High School? Was that your first school you went to?
No. So I started off at Palm Bay High School, and that was for about 4 months. I came in after a teacher left, and I was basically a long-term sub, more or less. And then at the end of the year, they decided to not keep me on. It was around the time of the hiring freeze. So 2012, there was like a big hiring freeze in Brevard County. And so I kind of had to look outside the county for a job. I got hired at Orange County in 2013 at Lake Nona Middle School. I loved that school, but I lived in Palm Bay at the time, and so it was like a 90-minute commute back and forth.
Holy moly!
Yeah, and if I could have found an affordable home in the area, I would have probably stayed there, but it just wasn't financially viable to keep working there. So I transferred over to Southwest Middle School, worked there for 2 years. But I was just kind of getting tired of middle school, and I really wanted to try and find a high school that was right for me. I worked at O'Galley for 1 year, and then found my home at Rockledge the next year, and have not left since. They have treated me great there, and I highly recommend it. It is a fantastic opportunity.
So you were a pirate and then became a raider.
I was a pirate and then a raider, and a Commodore in between.
There's a theme.
Very ocean themed. I think that's Brevard County though. It's very water themed, nautical themed.
That's true,
yeah, we're the oddballs up here. I'm pretty sure. Well, there's tigers too.
Yeah, you got the War Eagles.
I was a scorpion back in the day.
Yeah. But I was nautical themed all my high schools, yeah. So
okay,
that's
very
interesting. Yeah.
So what do you teach at Rockledge High School?
Yeah, so currently I teach physics. I teach a college level class called AICE Environmental Management, which is a mixture of environmental sciences and civics. So one day you're learning about like how photosynthesis works, and the next day you're learning about how the government works. It's a very strange class. It is the best class I've ever taught. It's super in depth and covers like all of the things that I'm interested in, and the kids super enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. I really do enjoy the class. The last class I teach is experimental science, which is commonly known as science fair. And I've been doing that this will be my 6th year doing it, 3rd year as lead science teacher.
Yeah, so I'm grading. I'm over there judging the science fair at the Maryland Mall. Was it last Friday? Friday before last?
I think it was 2 Fridays ago. Yeah,
a couple of Fridays ago. And I always enjoy that. It's a really cool way to see young minds and the kind of their scientific endeavors they're going into. You know what I mean? You can tell by the science projects they're doing, you can usually tell what they're going to go to college for and what they're going to study, which to me is very insightful. I'm looking at this one science project, and it's going over chromosome damage and DNA breaks, basically. And I'm looking at it going, wow, this is similar to the stuff that we're doing out in the wild with alligators.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm kind of going through this young lady's named Rachel, her science project, and I'm like, this is high level stuff. I mean, this is no joke. And I was the head judge for that section, and everybody came back with the same opinion, like this. She is the top of the food chain. And then I was the head judge for best of show, and there was no real argument that she was it. Like she was
Right.
like that was the project.
Head and shoulders above.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, and that's saying something because there were some awesome projects there. And at the end of the show, I went up to Dr. Peter Gay, who we've had on before.
Right. Yeah.
And I said, "Hey, Doc, who is her professor? Who is her teacher? Can you drop him my information, because I would love to chat with this guy." And it happened to be you.
Yep.
And man, wow, I don't even know where to start with this. But how do you help a student narrow down that project, and then how do you help mold that student to being a best of show?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. It's actually the hardest part, is helping the students narrow down their interest to a single project. It takes about a month of having the students look through experiments that other people have done and try and find something that we can do in our own lab and replicate, because there's a lot of stuff that we just can't do. We don't have an electron microscope. We can't access chemicals that are toxic or poisonous. And so I know that she spoke with you about how she gave the DNA or damaged the DNA with UV, and there was an offer of, well, you should use this chemical. Well, she would have loved to use that chemical, but it's got a big skull and crossbones on the label, so we can't use it. And so it is just a very long process of searching through article after article after article, finding something close to what they want to do, and then just altering it in ways that it can be done in our classroom and in a topic that they're interested in. So we're really leaning heavily on scientific journals that have already existed, not necessarily starting from scratch, because I feel like that would just be impossible, but building upon the protocols that already exist, and then just relying heavily on that and seeing what they can alter with it and change with it to make it their own.
So how do you mentor that? You know what I mean? Is it as a teacher and a mentor, because you're obviously both of you are helping them along with all these things.
Yep.
I know you have them look at the background and look through that. Then they decide they want to do this project. That's got to be so far above and beyond the hours that you're at work.
Oh, yeah. I when they come to me with their idea, 90% of the time, I have absolutely no idea what it is they're trying to do. And then it's on me to sit there and also go through and read all the articles and read all the research to catch me up with what they're trying to do, so that I have any chance of helping them. And so it's both of us learning. I learned how to code this year. I don't know anything about coding. And I had a student who, she bless her heart, she wanted to do a coding project. She has never coded before. And she's like, I want to do it. I want to do a mathematics project. I'm like, great, let's do it. And then about 2 months in, she goes, Mr. LeBlanc, I want to get out. I was like, no, absolutely not. We're going to work through this. And so I had to learn to code myself so I could teach her the things that she needed to do. And it was crazy.
So you're wearing all kinds of hats every day.
It's my favorite thing. I love wearing lots of hats. I do so much different jobs at the school, and I just love keeping busy. And just I like, even if it's only surface level knowledge, I just love being able to help out in all sorts of different ways, whether it's with the statistics portions of the boards, or individually within the students' projects, being able to provide some help to all of them as much as I can. But in terms of how do I get them from idea to actually doing a project, it's a lot of just day by day looking at, okay, what do you want to achieve from the project? And then what steps do we need to actually accomplish that goal? So with Rachel, we knew that she wanted to damage the DNA and then measure the repair in whether or not like the vitamin C was working or not. So we had to figure out, well, what ways can we damage DNA? And so she came with the idea, well, sunburns give you damage. That's what a sunburn is. And so UV radiation. Great. Okay. Well, how do we measure that? Well, great question.
These are serious questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we kept looking, and then she basically figured out, well, we could run a gel and measure the rate at which the DNA was passing through the gel as a good guess of how much DNA was left over. And the speed through which the DNA runs through the gel tells you kind of how much DNA there is as a good enough proxy for what we can do at our school. And that's all just her and I working through the various different obstacles that are like just our limitations as a high school. And I mean, that's just it. It's just we find a challenge, we find a solution. We find a challenge, we find a solution until we get a project.
And then do you at that point, you kind of have like a checklist you go through, like, well, we need one of these, we need this, we need to have this done. And then how do you take that and mold it all into the project?
So I mean, we have a checklist at the very beginning of like, all right, these are all the things that we need to get done by, let's say, October. Like that you need to have your like the materials list, you need to have like a hypothesis, all that basic stuff. But in terms of like your procedure and like what you actually are doing in the lab, that is done over like a 3-month period in my class where we, like I said, we just figure out, okay, this is my end goal. We always start with the end in mind. What do we want to get out of the project? And then work on, okay, so how do we get, for the coding project, she wanted to code a program that computed the outbreak of monkeypox in New York City. Okay, so how do I get there? Well, I need to know how to code. Wow. What program am I coding in? Okay, we now know what language we're coding, what program we're using. Well, how do I create a program file so that it mimics New York City? Okay, we've learned how to do that. How do we make a monkeypox file? Okay, we learned how to do that. It's just step by step by step by step until you have the entire thing. But it really is piecemeal. You can't look at it whole picture. It's just too much for the kids. They'll freak out. You really have to.
Yeah. My mind's blown about that just right now trying to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, we really do have to break it piece by piece by piece, and then it comes together in the end, and then we're ready to submit it for approval. We get feedback from them and back and forth until eventually we get the okay to start.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
So what this reminds me of, it reminds me of the athletic directors we've had on that talk about planning an event, that talk about all the steps in planning an event.
Right.
Because really what you're doing, each of your projects is planning an event for that student.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it can be as exhaustive as an event. I'm oftentimes at the school on weekends for the entire, like 8 hours, like walking a student through their project because like they need to be like an 8-hour duration. They can't do that during the school day. So I'll literally need to be at the school on a Saturday watching the student do like the bacteria project, like literally incubating and inoculating vials for hours at a time. Like, and yeah, that takes a lot of planning, a lot of prep time. It gets crazy.
So whenever you have a project like hers that is one best of show, that's got to be hugely rewarding to you.
Yeah, it's only happened twice in my 6 years. And prior to that, Rockledge, I don't think has had one in 30 years.
Wow.
So don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. But Rachel is my second. The last one was 2 years ago. Her name was Jasmine. You know the COVID test that like you stick a thing in your nose, and she made essentially a COVID test for leukemia, where you could take a blood sample, put it into a thing, and it reads out whether you have leukemia or not. In very like in a very short amount of time. And she won Best of Show. Her project was incredible. She's now at University of Miami with honors.
No
doing
doubt.
Great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, these kids they just do incredible things. I don't know how to do that.
No, yeah.
I have no clue. My goal is just to be there as like moral support and also like literally their wallet. Like they're not paying for any of this. Most of this is coming out of the school budget. And like we do a little bit of fundraising here or there, but yeah, I mean, that's mostly it. And both of my best in show winners have had crazy mental breakdowns where they come to me and gone like, Mr. LeBlanc, I can't do this anymore. I'm quitting. And like, it's my job at that point to go, okay, let's calm down, take a breath, figure out how we can overcome the obstacle. And with Jasmine, her materials didn't arrive until 3 days before science fair. So, and
wow.
Because she got leukemia cells, and they got stuck in transport. They got flagged as like biohazard. And so they would not ship them to us. And it was stuck in like Kentucky for like a month. And I kept having to like go through customs and be like, guys, it's just like a little vial of leukemia cells. Please give them to us. And eventually we got them, luckily, literally 3 days before fair. And we were able to, literally the night before fair, we were doing the experiment, making the board, printing the board at Kinko's the day of the fair. She wins best of show. But like that whole process, like literally fighting tears every single day. She's so frustrated, and just getting her through that was an amazing experience.
Now,
and I'm sure she won't forget it for the rest of her life.
You thinking back, can you remember whenever you were in school doing science fair?
Yeah, so I did science fair for 3 years, in 8th grade, 9th grade, and 10th grade. I did one project where it was about color blindness. That was my middle school project. And I was looking for specific traits. I don't remember the specific traits I was looking for and how it affected color blindness. So it was things like left-handedness versus color blindness. Very middle school, very much just kind of fun. Then I took like 3rd place. My freshman year, I did a very cool project about invasive species, where I was looking at if the Brazilian pepper trees had a specific soil bacteria related to them that allowed them to outcompete native trees. Because I knew that the Brazilian pepper trees, like, they changed the soil acidity in some way that basically outcompeted all the native trees. I want to know if there was some sort of biological component to it. And so I took soil samples, plated it, and saw if there was a difference. It was inconclusive, but the judges liked it. I ended up getting 2nd place. And then my sophomore year, I started science fair, didn't finish it. So, unfortunate.
Have you taken anything from those experiences you had and shared them with your students?
Oh yeah, especially the Brazilian pepper tree one. There was a lot of problems with me. I had the old clunky GPS like locators that were like this big, and there's a button that you had to push, and then it took like 2 minutes to tell you exactly where you were, because we didn't have iPhones and stuff back then.
Oh yeah.
And so it was a lot of tedious work, and I was out there for hours at a time and just in the forest, and it was just a miserable experience. I hated most of my time out there, but at the end of it, I got 2nd place. I got a cash reward. I got to put it on my college application. And like it was hugely beneficial to me having that experience, because it made me want to continue into science in the future.
All right, I know a lot of parents hear the term science fair and they kind of panic.
Oh yeah, yes.
A lot of parents hear that.
A lot of students hear that and panic.
Okay, well, let's say you're having a conversation with them beforehand. You can pitch it to them right now of why they want to be involved in something like this, and why they want their student / son or daughter to be involved with something like this. What would it be? So
there is no other class that allows your student to have the free and creative expression that science fair does. They have full ownership of their project. They get to decide exactly what they want to do, how they want to do it, and they get to explore the areas of science that they don't get to in like traditional classrooms. So like psychology, yeah, you can take a psychology class, but in those psychology class, how often are you actually running like psychology experiments on the students? Like, not for you. Most of those psychology classes, you're just reading about the science, the experiments that have been done in the past. When do you get to make your own one up? And so these kids get the opportunity to, same thing in biology class. When in biology class do you get to make up your own biology experiment and run it? You just don't get that opportunity. And so giving these kids an opportunity to fully express themselves in a scientific way, and a way that they traditionally don't get a chance to, I think is incredibly fulfilling. Of all the students that I have that do science fair, I'd say about only a quarter of them plan on doing science in the future. Most of them are kids that they just like me personally because they've had me in another class and are willing to give it a shot, and they get so much out of the class. They walk away from that class with like a new respect for science. They're incredibly proud of their own work, their ability to push through those barriers and like overcome obstacles, and the result that they see at the end is always shocking to them because they see what they knew at the beginning of the class and what they learned at the end of the class, and it blows them away. Because like at the beginning of the year, they know nothing about how fly brains work and how flies get strokes or whatever, and at the end of the year, they can write a whole dissertation on it, and it's incredible the level of advancement they can do in like 4 months' time. It's crazy.
I remember that project too, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, she got the unfortunate part of being in a category with 2 really, really good projects.
2 absolute hammers.
Yeah.
Yes,
And-
2 absolute hammers.
Yeah. But she did a great job. I was very proud of her too.
She did. Yeah, it's tell you what, some heavy science. Some heavy science to be doing at the high school level.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot there to be proud of.
Yeah.
Aaron, thank you so much for joining us today and
Hey,
chatting
thank
with us
you.
about all this stuff. Man, it's thanks for all you do, buddy.
I truly appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. Science is awesome, and I hope more people consider doing science fair projects.
Yeah, I hope we can get you guys out in the field and see some of the science we're doing firsthand, and maybe that'll be a little bit inspirational to them as well. But yeah, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Bill,
Yes, sir.
another one in the book,
Yes.
the podcast book.
The podcast book.
Yeah, I got to figure out. Maybe I should make a podcast book.
Probably should. Yeah, probably should have in. It'll be indexed, and you could.
And then I'm gonna swab it to see if I can find bacteria on it.
Okay. Okay, and then what? Then yell at the bacteria because that's your territory.
Exactly.
So you're
I want to be
territorial.
in that book.
Yeah, you want to
That
do
is
that.
my book. That book is gonna sit beside me in the afternoon on my spot on the couch.
Okay.
I'm gonna
On
make
your
a-
spot
I'm
on the
gonna
couch.
I'm gonna make
Yeah.
a spot for it on the couch.
You need to.
Yep.
You need to be territorial.
I'm gonna see about this.
Okay.
It's giving me a complex.
So you ready to go? You
Yes,
ready
sir.
to
I reckon I am.
to say those words?
I will say those words.
So
Bill.
I think you got to go to that one.
This camera,
No, that one.
that camera. See, for those of you who are not watching the podcast, you can actually watch the podcast and not just listen to
It's
it,
true.
because we are on YouTube as well. Not only are we on every platform that a podcast goes on, which you might be listening to now, it's actually on YouTube as well. You can watch it and listen to it. Don't watch it and like get in a car wreck or anything, but
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't watch
No.
it while you're driving or
Don't do that.
doing scientific experiments. But if you want to watch it while you're sitting at the house on your TV or
There you
something
go.
of that nature,
You can
it's
do
probably
that.
a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in to the EEARSS podcast here at Terrier TV at Titusville High School. And if you guys want to learn more about the research we're doing, things that are going on, you can go over to Alligator Robb, ROBB.com, or EARSS, again, the longest acronym on the planet, EARSS, EEARSS.org, or .com. We have .com too, because why not? Oh, we're fancy that way. And you can learn more about the research we're doing. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will catch you all next week. Bye-bye.